lot of clubs and underground events. And again, of course, happened in the 70s, so it's this kind of sort of strange resurgence. I'm doing a lot of research at the moment, and Anne Marsh, who's a performance art researcher from Australia, she was saying that a lot of the performance art in the 90s were reinvigorated through predominantly queer culture and that kind of exuberance and fun that was had through queer culture and performance events in clubs that start at 8 o'clock in the morning and things like that, yeah. I'm not sure why I keep getting drawn into making these events happen, because they're not just little small gatherings. They seem to be swelling somewhat in size. It's got something to do with the shared experience and allowing that liminal space appear that we can all go somewhere else. The reservoir's a bit like, I described it as a bit like a Turkish hammam. So it's like an underground, it looks like an old ancient underground bathhouse or dungeon made of bricks. And there's 12 rooms that intersect each other to create one big room that is separated by beautiful brick archways. This sort of sense of antiquity and being underground and being elsewhere. We fell upon the site in a way that we were looking to find a special event, a performance to invite people from the drawing conference, a way to open it. I like to work a lot with sound and music and work a lot with Michael D, who in this case uses a diddly bow, which is a one-stringed electronic bass bowed, and it has this kind of long monastic sound that was really deep and great for the space. I use a lot of ink and brushes and big gestural marks, and they actually respond to not only the physical nature of the space or who I'm drawing, they actually move in response to Michael's sound. And then sort of transforming ink on paper by projecting digital lines on top of it again to actually create this, this shift in what's expected. So it's quite playful and a bit mysterious. Again, that liminal space, that threshold that you can sort of dance around. So that lovely physical and tactile nature of ink on paper and the brush, and then that luminous ability and colour that projected light and digital line can give you, and that sort of space that you can create in between. And I guess it's got something to do with growing up in the 90s at that point where analogue and digital was at this transitional period. I also like to create live feed and put live feed of something that is happening into another space, which I did in the reservoirs, and actually projected what I was doing into another room. To ask these questions about what's actually real and physical and what's not. And the first iteration of that tool was like a Game Boy console and a box that I built with levers that plugged into a Wacom tablet and the computer, and now they've designed an app so you can do it all on the app. But the hardware that was associated with it some years ago was just so super cool. It was like a wooden box with a big red button, and you could change colours and stuff with it, and it had this real Doctor Who makeshift feel to it. So although the tag tool is now on iPad and it's very easy to manipulate, carry around, I miss the physical nature of the tool, but it is a live drawing and animation software that's developed in Austria by a bunch of graffiti boys. So we sort of set up a bit of a strategy when we start about how we're going to start and what I'd like to do, and then he will take that and he'll drive that. And particularly with the reservoirs, we wanted his sound to bring silence to the space. The way Mick started it, he set up a pulse through the whole performance. So I think that's the beauty of experienced musicians and artists with improvisation. They can actually pass the baton in a really giving way. It was this beautiful kind of trade of focus. It was quite ritualistic actually in lots of ways, and the preparation before we started to actually talk together, like have this conversation between sound and line. So he looks at line, he looks at the way I move, and I respond in turn to the sound. So it's a really nice relationship. Chances are it won't. Chances are you lose the integrity of the mark because you're not in the process. You're designing the process in your head before you're engaged in the process. So you can run the risk of it not being integral marks, and they don't have that thing. Sort of lights and choreography and sound and performers, all of a sudden you do have that carnivalesque nature that we want to kind of move into another world in a way, which was the reservoir was another world. That 20th century birth definitely of disruption, that Dada was really they really positioned themselves in the whole cabaret Voltaire, and that combination of sound and image and collage and costume, that nature that there's that place where we can all go and be somebody else, and you cross that threshold and experience a sort of another level of being in some way. Collaboration for me is just like, it's that natural. I like the challenge of somebody else's input in a lot of ways. To play with difference, to sort of dance with difference, because you've got a location to bounce off when you're making these performance drawings. You've got the actual performance event, then you've got the sound, and then you've got the people, and then you've got to negotiate audiences. So I don't know, I think I just keep putting problems I have to solve and just try and see how I can actually thread it together. I just like the interdisciplinary nature of making, and that's probably the aspect I like the most, is facilitating a shared experience for everybody present, no matter their understanding of visual language or whether they just happen to be passing by. And drawing such a conduit, because it's this direct conscious engagement between the physical line and the hand-eye that can actually translate immediately. So that just becomes this language for it. I guess that's why they have become so married in a lot of the work that I'm doing.